Greetings everyone, this is the voice of Post-Editing J. Hi everyone. First of all, I want to apologise for this next video. The last few days I've kind of been struggling with quite a lot, like sort of mentally, if you like. That sounds crazy, but basically, cutting the story short, for some time now I've been suffering with a condition which is like a nerve condition, and in order to not solve the condition, but in order to try and aid this condition, this nerve condition, I've been prescribed a particular type of drug, and I've been on these drugs for some time, and basically they've basically stopped working, and I went to the doctors, and the doctors basically switched me onto some other type of drugs. So she didn't wean me off the other ones, and she just basically like said, well, we're going to take those off you and we'll put you on these new ones. So in that respect, they have actually helped the nerve. It's a type of neuralgia problem. It's a condition where in my feet get extremely hot and burning. It feels like they're on fire, and this normally happens when the temperature is kind of around about 20 degrees, funnily enough, like here. So when my body temperature reaches around about sort of 20 degrees, my feet start burning. For the most part, I wear no shoes, no socks, because I just can't stand it. My feet literally go red, and they feel like I'm walking on hot coals. And this has affected my sleep no end, which is affecting my mental mood, and like depression, anxiety, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, the doctor's taken me off these one set of tablets and put me on some new ones, which so far appear to be working. But I'm having a lot of side effects, not from the new tablets, but actually coming off the old tablets. And these side effects are kind of ranging from kind of manic episodes, depression, anxiety, sweating, brain fog, confusion, and that's basically why I want to sort of apologise for this next video, because I did struggle a lot with this next video, not because of the actual challenge itself, but mainly because of this problem with the drugs and how it's affecting me. So I just wanted to let you all know that, you know, I'm not sort of like losing the plot, even though I kind of am a little, but yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to subside anyway. So I just want to apologise out there and say, look, I'm sorry for you know, struggling in this next video with words. Even now I'm still struggling. It's like a kind of the only way I can explain it is like my brain feels like it's in a washing machine, constantly spinning. I have trouble trying to find the right words, simple words that normally aren't a problem, but so like brain fog, and it's like, yeah, the last couple of days it's been really bad. So I just want to apologise to you guys and say I hope that this video, you know, I hope you can make some sort of sense out of it, and I will have to heavily edit it as well. So yeah, so this is the bonsai challenge, which is called Be Kind, Be Friendly. There are no major kind of set rules for this bonsai challenge. I'm going to say this now because I'm not sure if I explained it very well in the actual video. The only major kind of guidelines that I'd like you to try and stick to is that you create a mame kind of bonsai, so it's got to be quite small. For example, something that will fit in sort of like little tiny pots like these. actual subject that I want you to try and pick is a piece of heather. The heather needs to be a flowering type of heather which flowers between spring and summer, because this will be obviously the most active time for bees, and that's what this challenge is about. It's about trying to save, obviously, and provide for the bees, because obviously bees are really important, and they're constantly under threat by numerous things, which I'm not going to go into, which I could go into, but I'm not. But yeah, they're constantly under threat, so I kind of want this challenge to, to kind of help them, and I'm hoping it's going to help you as well, because it's something a little bit different. I don't want you to stress about it. You don't have to do this challenge. It's just a bit of fun, but with a kind of a serious undertone for the wildlife, and but mainly I just want you guys to enjoy the experience. It'd be nice if some of the majorly seasoned guys out there, like Nigel Saunders and if the likes of, if you know what I mean, if they kind of had a go at this challenge as well. So basically, yeah, just the rules of engagement basically are: it's got to be a piece of heather that flowers during spring and summer, that is super bee friendly. As for styles, styling the bonsai itself is completely up to you. You can use whatever style you want, whatever you like. But again, the more seasoned of you, I want you to try and push the envelope a little bit. I want you to try and challenge yourself a little bit more. So, for example, like I don't particularly like cascading bonsais. I don't know why. They've just never really appealed to me, and doing one was never on my to-do list or my bucket list, if you like. But this challenge is basically has made me even put myself in that awkward position, and to challenge myself and to push myself into having a go at it, because how can you not like something if you've never had a go at it? So again, you more seasoned guys out there, if there's a particular style you don't like, and you think, oh god, I ain't doing that again, I want you to actually do it with a bit of heather, right? So I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. You can either contact me on Facebook, Saveourbees Bonsai, or in my community section here on YouTube. And I'll answer your questions the best that I can. I hope that's it, and I hope you take the challenge, and I hope you enjoy my next video to the best that you can, considering what I've already said about my issues with my tablets, and also doing a cascading bonsai for the first time, which it really was a challenge for me. It took a very long time Guys, stay blessed, and I hope you enjoy this video. Good luck with this challenge. Greetings everyone, I hope you're all well. Some of you may have seen my Facebook page, Zen Bonsai, and my community page on YouTube, Zen Bonsai. And I posted some photos and a challenge. So I want to see if some of you might be interested in taking up a little bit of a challenge, a Mame Bonsai challenge, and the challenge is going to be called Be Kind, Be Friendly. And what I mean by be kind and be friendly is basically bees. Bzz, 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 bzz. So we're kind of edging on the sort of start of spring now, and then it'll be in summer, so we're going to be getting a lot of bees, and we all know that how important bees are. So I wanted to kind of have the importance of bees connected to a bonsai in some way, but a Mame bonsai, and in particular I thought let's do something a little bit different, and let's work with something like a heather. And that's what this is right here. It's a heather. Woohoo! Now I'm not going to go into a great detail. I'm not going to go into great detail about heathers. Please excuse me today. I'm a bit sort of all over the place. My head's a bit mashed, and I'm kind of feeling a bit anxious and panicky today. I've had some new medication. It's not really doing me justice, so please bear with me during this video. So anyway, I don't want to go into too much detail about heathers, but what I'll do, I'll break it down. There are basically 3 different types, if you like, of heathers. There's a Kaluna, an Erica, or a Deboichia, I think it's called, or pronounced. Deboichia, maybe, something like that. It's very weird. But yeah, so they kind of all seem to flower at different times, so it kind of makes it even harder to try and put them into categories, if you know what I mean. It would have been ideal if Kalunas were if all Kalunas were wintering, flowering, and Erica were summer flowering or spring flowering, and day blah blah or whatever it's called would be sort of summer, but it doesn't work that way from what I can tell, so I'm not going to get too confused on that. But the challenge is basically pretty simple. I want you guys to try and go out there, find some heather. The heather itself has to be a flowering heather, and it has to flower during either late to midsummer, when there's lots of bees around, because they and obviously not only does it have to flower, it has to be bee friendly. That's the key part here. So this one in particular in front of me, this one is an Erica. It's actually got a name, a sub name of I don't know if it's a cultivar name, maybe, of Kramer's Red. I don't know why it's called Kramer's Red, because it's not red, it's more magenta. So make that whatever you will. Maybe they're colourblind, I don't know, but there you go. So this one obviously must be a kind of wintry spring flowering one. So yeah, so for example, I got one of these, and this is the task that I want you guys to try and do, to get one of these from somewhere and turn it into this. 1, 2, there you go. So something like that. Super small. I mean, what I'll do, I'll put an AA battery next to it just so you get an idea. So very small. So we basically went from something quite bushy to something super cute. But this one in particular, like I said, it's kind of a winter spring flowering one, so these are probably going to drop before the bees start flying around and stuff. So I'm just using this one as an example. You can do it whatever style you like. It doesn't have to be like a broom style like this one. This one, when the flowers do start lagging and stuff, I'll take them off and then I'll style the tree better than what it is at the moment. And this was just a rough kind of sketch, if you like, because I didn't want to cut the flowers off too much at this point, if you know what I mean, because they're really pretty. And but as soon as they start withering and dying, then I'll take them all off and then I'll style it. So the style itself is entirely up to you. You can get creative, do something totally wacky if you like. It's entirely up to you. Just express yourself, and you don't have to follow the rules of bonsai. The one thing you have to remember is bonsai is an art, and like any art, rules don't apply. Okay, all rules when it comes to art have to go out the window. That's the only way you discover new styles and new takes on things. Otherwise it's going to be much of the same, like S-shaped bonsais and all this kind of stuff. And so just do whatever you like, do what makes you happy, basically. I just want to kind of imagine seeing your face from having something like this turning into a little tiny tree. I want to see your face glow, you know what I mean? I want you to sit there and go, oh my god, that's so dope, you know what I mean? I did that. And and it's so cute. And obviously, like, it's going to be super cool for bees. So that's that one anyway. So this one was called, if you like this one, I'm sure you can find one. I've kind of gathered lots of information for my journal for this one in particular, regarding everything there is to know about it. I'm not going to read it all out because it's just too long, but it even goes as far as pH kind of stuff, what kind of soils they like, pruning, propagating, all that kind of stuff, so it's entirely up to you how far and how deep you want to go. The deeper the better, if because the more knowledge you learn about something, I think it's the more rewarding it is. And like I say, bonsais are not just things to look at. They are living, and people forget that, and that, I find that really depressing at times, that people forget they are living things, and they do have feelings. And I know you might think I'm bonkers, but seriously, they do have feelings. And you can actually search on YouTube and see experiments that have been done, and some of them are pretty nasty, and you'll see how things react to certain intent. But I'm not going to go into that because that's a totally different subject, and it's a very deep subject that kind of talks about frequencies and intent and things like karma and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go into that, but I'm just letting you know. So anyway, this was my little one just to start the ball rolling. I am going to try and do another one, and I'm going to be trying it with this little dude here. I don't know much about this one because I've literally just picked it up. And this one, let me just get it a bit closer actually so you can see it. I know the lighting's not very good here either. Just give me a second. Let's see if that helps. There you go. So this one I've written it down somewhere. This one is called a spring torch. I don't know if you can see it very well. So at the moment it doesn't look anything special. I'm not saying that you're not special, because you are. You're beautiful, okay? But come summertime, what the hell's that in there? Oh, don't know. Come summertime, I think that's when this one will start flowering. So yeah, this one is still a heather, but this one's called a spring torch. So I'm going to attempt to try and do something with this one. There's quite a bit to work with. I might try maybe a cascade maybe with it, or a semi-cascade, because I quite like this bit here. Sorry, I know the camera's not very good at it, sorry. Oh dear. So yeah, I'll try something with this one, and what I'll also do as well, if you like, is I'll put a link to some little pots you can get off Amazon. They're really cool. They're pretty cheap actually. You get about 6. These 6 cost me about 20 quid. Oh dear. Let me just move some stuff around. So obviously I've used the one already for that little guy there. So yeah, I don't know what they're made of. I think it's some sort of sandstone type stuff, I'm not sure, but they're really cool. Absolutely brilliant for the price. I mean, they're like £20 in the UK for 6 different styles, as you can see here. So I'll give you a quick show of those. They've all got drainage holes as well. So that one's pretty cute. Looks like a little jelly mould. Oh dear. And a little yeah, hexy whatever one. That one's quite nice. That'd look nice as a cascading one, so I'll probably use that one. If I do a cascade, I'll use that one. And then we've got some nice little rectangle ones as well, and a slightly bigger one there. That would look pretty cool with a little type forest in it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this honestly, it's not any, there's no pressure to do this challenge to anyone, you know, it's just a bit of fun. The only kind of important part of it is the bee side of it, because we all know that bees are declining, and it's mainly because of pesticides and other things like dare I say chemtrails and all that kind of stuff, which again I'm not going to go into because I know it's a very debatable subject, and you know, I don't want people unsubscribing because you know, they think I'm a conspiracy nut or whatever. But anyway, different story. So yeah, so be kind, be friendly. So I'll put a link to these if you like, for Amazon.com and AmazonUK.co.uk. I think I have got an affiliate account as well, so that would be cool if you do click the link and you do get some. I might get a little bit of a reward off Amazon, but you know, don't sweat it. The important thing is that that you enjoy the challenge. Do you know what I mean? That's all I want you to do, is to enjoy the challenge, and to be one with nature. That's the important thing in life, you know, to remember that, you know, it's not just an ornament or something pretty to look at. It is nature, and it is kind of being one with nature, if you like. So there's all these cute little pots. So I'm going to try, like I said, and do something with this little floppy guy. Yeah, so let's get cracking and see what I can do or can't do. But yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift it out of the pot for now. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, this is absolutely soaking, and it's really not ideal. It's going to be really hard to repot as well, because the other one was it was quite tricky. I did have to cut a lot of the roots off. I had to basically totally what do you call it, you know, yeah, completely get rid of as much of this soil as possible. Honestly, my head is just so mashed. So please forgive me today. Honestly, I'm having a lot of trouble sort of focusing, and just sort of talking, to be honest. I shouldn't really be doing it today, but I didn't want to put it off any longer, because obviously we're getting closer and closer. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is just going to try and analyse what we've got to work with here. So as we've got this big long shoot here, that's going to make a really nice cascade naturally. So I'm going to try that. I've never done a cascade before either, and I'm going to be totally honest, I don't actually particularly like cascades, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I shouldn't try them and have a go at them. So this is what I'm talking about getting out of your comfort zone and do things that you've never done before, not just in bonsai but in life. Life lesson number 1. Oh Jay, you're cracking me up, lad. So I'm going to try and just take a look at the branches and kind of assess what I'm going to keep and what I'm going to try and get rid of. So I mean, even if I just turn it around like that, look, see, we've already got some sort of rough idea of what we can do. I mean, you could even probably do a little windswept with this one as well, because there's like there's some nice branching in there. And I love windsweeps, but I've already done a lot of windsweeps, and I think I need to do either a semi-cascade or a cascade, because I've never done one before, and because the fact that I don't like them. I hope you feel me on that. So I'm gonna try and see. So this one here would be ideal to keep as a kind of an upwards one, but I could actually just pinch it back to make it a bit shorter. So pinch it back to a kind of a bud here or something. Yeah. What else? I think the first thing is I'm going to have to wire that one there for a start. So I might try and do that first. Let me just try and get some wire on the go. I'm hoping that I won't need anything thicker than 1mm as well. So anyway guys, I hope you're all okay, and you're all well. I keep forgetting it's Monday as well, so maybe I've got the Monday blues. I hope you all had a good Mothering Sunday and all that kind of stuff. If you did, great. Okay, so So the first thing I need to saying sorry to the camera. Yeah, good thing, Jay. So the first thing I need to assess really is to how to wire this, and how to position the wire, like to anchor it. So I think I mean, this is the branch that I need to keep here as well. So where do you come from? Because I don't want to anchor it on a branch that I might end up removing, if you know what I mean. Because that would just make more work for myself in the long run. So I'm just turning it at different angles as well. Another thing I'll say as well, while I'm sort of looking at things like this, I used to be a photographer, and I used to actually love photography. These days I don't really, I don't do much anymore, but yeah, it was quite a big passion of mine. I really loved it. And in photography, they, again, like bonsai, there are kind of specific rules, or guidelines, if you like. I hate the word rules, but guidelines. And the key one for photography is the rule of thirds. If you have a mobile phone, for example, you can actually change the settings to produce a grid, and this grid will actually throw up the rule of thirds for you. So when it comes to things like repotting your bonsais and stuff, I always try and use that rule of thirds as a repotting framing. So imagine that, excuse me a second, just grab something again. So imagine that the pot is the base of your frame and the height of your tree is the top of your frame. So for example, something like this, if you put it in the center, it just look a bit kind of, you know, whoopee, so what. But if you slightly move it to the rule of thirds, which would be about here, it makes it a little bit more interesting, or here, you know, rather than just shoving it in the middle. So it's similar in photography, so it's just a similar kind of thing. So I kind of use my photography knowledge and put that in with bonsai as well to make things a little bit more interesting. So but that's just something else. But also one of the key things that I always used to tell people when it comes to photography is to always look behind you. You know, we always walk past things and we're always looking forward, but sometimes you have to stop and look behind and turn around, you know, do 180 and look around, change the angle. You know, don't just look at something at face value and go, oh no, it looks like, you know, it looks like poo. So yeah, so it's just about rotating things around, looking for different angles, different perspectives, different viewpoints, if you know what I mean. And that's not only the beauty of photography, it's the beauty of bonsai. So this kind of angle here is quite interesting because you can actually see this branch here, which is the one that I want to keep for the top, and then we've got this one here, which will be kind of draping down, if you know what I mean. So that's quite an interesting angle. So I might actually use that angle and then base the rest off the tree on that angle. Now I'm not going to say this is going to work because, like I said, I have never done a someone's coughing their lungs up out there. I've never done a cascading one before, so let's give it a buzz anyway. So yeah, just going to wire that. So keeping that in mind, that I'm going to be keeping this section here, I'm going to anchor the wire to this one and then wind the wire along this longer branch. Well, I'm going to try, let's say, because it's so small, I'm going to have to be so careful. Oh, whose stupid idea was this challenge, Joe? Yours, you numpty. Oh dear. I hope you can see okay as well, because I'm not really looking at the camera or through the camera. I'm kind of looking above the camera so I can see what the hell I'm doing. And as you know, those that know my videos already, that I have the camera in between my arms. So yeah, I'm going to thinking ahead now. Do I need... I don't really need to wire this one. I think I'm going to keep it the way it is. That's just using this as an anchor. So this is going to be the hard part, I think, trying to weave this wire now. Without sort of damaging the little buds. So what I might have to do as well is, what I might do is at some stage, because it might actually take me longer than I'm thinking, I might either speed up the process and put some music over it, because you don't want to be sitting through this. It's painful enough for me, so I don't want you to have to sit through it as well. Or I might just stop the video and then start it back once it's already wound up. It'd be interesting to see who gets wound up first, me or the tree. Right, I'm going to use a little, where are you? There you are, I see you. I've got a little stick here. I'm going to use this to try and untrap the foliage as well, so that we don't catch anything in there. Which is what you should do anyway, regardless of the size of the tree you're working on. So I'm just trying to carefully, as if it was a bigger tree, obviously, with tiny branches like this. I'm just trying to weave the wire in between the gaps, not trapping any of the foliage and or damaging anything. I can probably sneak it through there. I'm not doing it too tight either, because it doesn't need to be too tight, and I think if you have it too tight, it kind of suffocates the tree. I think it can actually stop the flow of energy. It's like somebody tying a bandage on your arm, and if it's too tight, what happens? You get an achy arm or something because of the blood flow restriction. God, this is so tricky. Just trying to find the best branches that I can weave it in and out of. Well, I say branches, but they're not really branches. They're more like little leafy type things. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is that I know I've said it a few times before. I am in my 50s. My eyesight is not the best. So for you younger guys out there, there's no excuse. Alright. So I think that's going to do that there. So I'm just going to snip that off there. And then I'm just going to carefully just tuck that underneath somehow. Yeah, like I said, you don't have to use this particular cultivar or species of heather. Use whatever takes your fancy. Do a bit of digging on the internet. If you're in the UK, I recommend having a look on the Royal Horticultural Society website for heathers. If you go into somewhere like I don't want you to use Google either. I don't like Google. Use something like DuckDuckGo, and you do an image search for something like summer flowering heathers, and have a look at some of the photos and see what you can find, see what appeals to you, and if there's something you like, get the name of it and see if you can grab one from somewhere. So yeah, you don't have to use the same one as I'm using. And the other thing I don't know is how far the root system goes down, if you know what I mean, because when you normally buy something from like a nursery, what they have a tendency to do is to over overpot it, if you like. So the root system you think is going to be like about here because that's as far as you can see, but it might in fact be like further down, so there could be like more trunk to be revealed. So I'm just going to gently scratch away, and I'm hoping that there will be a bit more trunk, because then that will then allow me to bend the entire trunk to create more of a cascade. So we've got probably about, what, maybe about an inch. There might even be some more in there, which is going to be super cool, because obviously with a cascade, you know, it needs to be flowing. The other thing we have to consider, and I know a lot of people forget a simple thing like this, so I'll say it anyway, not to me, like, not to be patronizing in any kind of way at all, mainly for beginners or less experienced guys out there that are just getting into bonsai or whatever. When it comes to like repotting, now if I was to repot that and I need it to cascade, you know, I'm going to have to bend it like Beckham, do you know what I mean? And it isn't going to work. So what do? Simple, you change the potting angle, you slightly change the potting angle. So if you just change the potting angle, that's half your job already, you know what I mean? So yeah, sometimes the easiest solutions are just right there in front of you, but sometimes a lot of people, and you know, I don't like saying this, and I'm not speaking ill of anybody, but some people do like to overcomplicate things, and it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. All right, so I'm just trying to help you guys out, and you know, again, you know, doing something as simple as that, it helps me out, so, and it makes my job easier, and it makes the tree's life easier because it puts less strain on the tree when it comes to bending it. I hope that makes sense anyway. So yeah, I've got some roots now, so I think this is going to be a nightmare, absolute nightmare, to try and bare root. That was the word I was looking for earlier. And I do want to bare root it because I don't want this, whatever it is, I want as little as that as possible, because I don't want to risk the roots getting rotten, because at this stage they probably will. It feels so mushy already, it's ridiculous. So anyway, as I said, my knowledge of cascades is very, very non-existent. So what I might have to do is to try and have a look for some references, maybe, to give me just some idea, maybe, of things to avoid, you know, because like I said, when it comes to cascades, I'm a noob, total noob. So I think I'm going to go and do that before I do anything else, and then I'll edit the video so you don't have to watch me trying to get through all this. Okay, this will be the main kind of flowing downward kind of branch here, so I'll put some more movement into that later, but at the moment it's not really my kind of main concern, because I know what I can do with this one. So I'm going to be kind of ignoring that now and sort of looking at what I can do with this here. So I've also created a kind of a branch here, and I've stripped off the foliage, and I'm going to let this one dry out, and I'll strip the bark off it and try and make that a kind of a deadwood feature as well, just to give it a bit more character, you know, to break up some of the I'll probably wire it as well, and then when it's actually when it's dried out, when I've stripped the bark off and it's dried out, I'll then put some lime sulphur on it and see if that kind of bleaches it a little bit, but for now that's kind of the kind of plan ahead kind of thing. So the next part I'm going to try and figure out is what to do with the rest of it. Obviously I don't want it just two-dimensional front back, so I'm going to try and think of other things to do with these other parts here as well. So this one I think might become the sort of the top kind of, I don't know. I'm still kind of working my way around it and trying to see what I can keep and what I can reduce. So maybe that one might be the top sort of thing. So I've got quite a lot to reduce. So I'm going to pause the camera again and sort of have a look at it, and then I'll come back. What I'm going to do now is try, if I can see, it's going to be quite hard because I've got the camera right in my face now. I'm going to try and move it a bit. I'm trying to get right into the branches now, and I'm going to try and remove some of the foliage that's quite close. So I want to try and create some separation between each branch. So I can kind of pinch some of them off, but yeah, I'm gonna have to be really careful. But I think I might just use scissors. It's probably the safest thing to do considering how small it is. So yeah, any kind of little bits of growth that are quite close to the, like sort of like down in these ends, I'm gonna. I mean, it just helps me see each kind of branch a little bit better. I mean, this one is a pretty weak one here as well, so I think I might cut that one off. It's got a lot of dying growth on that one anyway. It's probably dying because obviously it's probably too compact and the inside isn't getting enough light. So here, for example, we've got this kind of branch here, and we've got like a bit of dead something there, and then we've got two kind of little shoots there that are quite close to this other branch. So I think this is probably the best way to go, just so that you can actually see each individual branch better. Just going to carefully nip at these. I hope you can see alright because I'm not looking at the camera again. Just carefully examining the branch, and there's another one there I can remove. So yeah, now we get like a bit more definition with the branches. We can actually see what we've got to work with, where before it was a bit of a minefield and a cluster foo, if you like. So let me see now. So this is kind of going to be the kind of main front. I'm going to have to work on. I've put some thicker wire here, so I'm going to have to try and work a bit of a bend here, and then obviously change the potting angle. This one's going to be the main downward branch. This one I'll probably wire it, and you see how it kind of faces towards the camera here, all of the fluffy kind of growth. So I'm probably going to try and wire that and rotate the branch like about 45 kind of degrees maybe, so it's sort of like more like that, to create a kind of pad. And there's quite a lot going on up here as well, so I'm going to remove probably this one here. Come on, why won't you cut now? Do you not want to be cut? Is that what it is? Thank you. And yeah, I'm going to try and propagate these. I've got some and just in a little thingy of water for now. And as you know, I love propagating, so I've never done these before, so I'll give them a go. I'm just going to strip some of the leaves off there, off the bottom, and just stick it in some water for now. I'll probably put them in some sort of sand or something, and I'll leave them on the window ledge or something for now, and see how that goes. I don't get much. I've said in probably numerous videos, I don't get much luck by leaving things in water, so I want to learn from my my failings. So I mean, I could probably keep this one and slightly mirror this branch here with this one and create like another pad, and then use this one as well to sort of have it kind of slightly windswepty. And again, I'm probably going to have to rotate the branch, so instead of it being upwards, rotate it this way and then that way. It's quite flat at the bottom, which is nice. That's kind of half of a pad already, and so all I need to do is kind of thin it out a bit, really. Just trying to see where the best places are to do that. I mean, let's just see if I have to pinch some of them off. Yeah, so yeah, of course you don't have to cut them, you can pinch them off, and it's better to pinch these ones off rather than cut them, because if you cut them they'll go brown at the tips, so pinching them is probably a better solution. Now, I did say that I want to try and minimalise the amount of buds that I pinch off, which is still the case, so obviously I need to reduce some of them. And on the flip side, we've got a couple of branches here. That little one there is a little bit weak, so I'll take that one off there. It's a little tiny baby one there. So I'm going to take that one off there, and then that'll open up that even more, that area there. So again, less is more, because now we can actually see more of the foliage, branches and so on. So in theory we could create a kind of nice little Mohican style one, really. We could wire this one to the right, wire this one into the center, and then keep that one wired to the left, and have them like that. Yeah, so I might try that. I think this one needs thinning out here, so again, I might try and have it so that they're kind of in like a pyramid this way, going sort of triangular. So again, I'll pinch some of them off so I can see a bit more kind of shape. Now I've got to remember that some of them are going to need rotating as well, so with that in mind, I'm going to pinch that one off for a start, because that one's a bit too long. So just grabbing it there very gently and just pinch. There we go. And again with that one there, just very carefully. So yeah, that one needs wiring. I don't know actually whether just to remove that one, because it's quite clear, it's quite close to all of these other branches, and there's like 3 here in a kind of area. I mean, I suppose I could remove one of these as well, actually, thinking about it. All these decisions, you know. There's so many possibilities. That's why sometimes it does pay to sorry, let me eye real quick there. it does pay to do some light sketching, which is kind of like the idea. I mean, this is the kind of bare bones of like the cascade that I'm kind of trying create. So imagine this is kind of like the pot or something. But yeah, so so obviously that bit there will be this one. The top one there will be that one there, and then I've now got other branches to consider, which are I've got one that is either here and here, on that kind of plane, if you like. Again, about the Mohican thing. So it's not a brilliant drawing, but so that kind of thing. And then we can also obviously play around with angles again, like going up and then sort of like slightly windswept or something, you know. Like this one could kind of go a bit more that way. So it's kind of just playing and sort of syncing everything in, sort of like in flow with everything else, you know. So you kind of bending your kind of your own rules to make everything flow, to give you a kind of an idea. Well, that's the way I kind of do it anyway. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So there's the 4 there, possible 4. And then we've got 2 on the side. So there's going to be like 2 other branches, sort of like on that kind of side, and then 1 on this side here, possibly. But obviously, yeah, you'll have to change the angle of the drawing to figure that one out. But yeah, so I'm still kind of playing on kind of the design aspect. I've kind of wired this little bit of branch here. I've stripped the bark off it, and I've just wired it for now to remind me that I can possibly use that as a feature, for like a deadwood feature. So all I'll do is just leave that, let it just die off, and then deal with that at a later date maybe, or I can just remove it, you know. So I'm keeping my options open, you know. But yeah, I'm still kind of debating whether just to remove that one there, to be honest, because it would be growing on the inside, if you know what I mean. So I might just remove that and then have just the 3. Okay, so now I've got the secondary branch here wired up, and I've wired it parallel with the new leader branch. So it'll kind of be, this will be the apex, I suppose, branch, sort of going this way. So the next step is to decide what to do with these 3 branches here. Like I said, I don't want it just 2-dimensional, like, you know, it needs a bit of kind of dimension to it, otherwise it's just kind of really boring. The dimension parts of it, I will be adding some oh dear, I'll be adding some shape to this. Sorry about me, I can't get the right words out. So yeah, I'll be adding some movement, that's the word I'm looking for, to this, to give it a bit more kind of style, and yeah. So what I've done with that one, now it's been wired, we can see that it's nice and flat. And I'm just going to rotate it a little bit more in line with the rotation of the wire as well. So if I rotate it clockwise, that's going to cause the wire to unravel. So I want to do it anti-clockwise just a bit, so that this lies flatter, and that will actually tighten up the wire just a smidge, just a few degrees. That's just about perfect there. So yeah, and then now we've got that, we can actually see bits of growth on the top and bits on the bottom, and what we can do there is just either cut them off, or we can pinch them. I'll just pinch that one back there for now. I'm going to pull that one off, just so it creates a bit of a pad sort of thing, so it looks nice and tidy. Same with this one here, we've got a lot of kind of upward growth and stuff on it, and we can do the same thing with that. We can pinch those back a little bit. That one there is literally on the top, so I'm going to pinch that one off. I'm going to pinch that one. Let me just check that one. Yeah, so when it comes to putting the movement into the wire, I need to make sure that the branch is kind of the right position, so I'm not twisting all the foliage around when you're sort of like wiring the branch in the first place, which I try and do, but because this is so small, it's so hard, which is why I have to keep stopping the camera as well. So anyway, the next step will be to decide what to do here. I mean, it's not really ideal having 3 branches in one location, so I need to decide which ones to get rid of, and I think it's going to have to be the middle one. That one's quite strong branch, so I think it's going to have to be the middle one. So I'm going to remove the middle one, like so, and I'll use that as a cut-in as well. So now we can clearly see all the branches that we've got to work with. So less is more. So with that being said, now we can start manipulating the tree itself with the wire that's in place. These two will need wiring, and this will add a bit more kind of dimension, like from this angle here. I'll wire them, and yeah, and then we can move everything around. This is going to need thinning out here, trimming back, so I'm going to pinch that off there for a start, because it's quite vigorous there. That's quite thick as well, so I can't pinch it off, so I'm going to cut it at a slight angle here, because it's a bit like a pine, I suppose. You can have like the needles, and if you cut it straight across, it'll go brown at the tip, so I'm going to cut it just at a direction like that. So the next thing to do is to wire these two branches up. I'll try and do it on camera, but it's going to be quite difficult. One of these days I'll have to get I'll have to try and get another camera just so that you can see how I have to do this. There's no other way that I think it can be done. I think this is probably the best way to show you what I'm doing, you know, because you can see pretty close. You know, it's like a first person view, if you know what I mean, if you're a gamer. Rather than like being over in another postcode, you know, and you're like, what the hell's he doing? We can't see nothing, you know. So I really hope this does help you, honestly. So if it does, please do let me know in the comments, because I'm just going to carry on doing what I think is right unless somebody says otherwise. Okay, so please let me know. So as I did with the two branches here and here, I'm going to be doing the same with these two here. So I'll wire them using each one as an anchor for the other, and well, I'll try. So I'm going to start with this one. So I'm kind of supporting it here with my thumb, so I'm kind of pinching just enough to secure the wire against this branch here and the trunk part here, and then you see like the other half's here, and then I'm just trying to stop it from rotating, and I'm trying to get the first bend as close to this trunk here as possible. And when you're doing this as well, especially with something so small, you have to be very, very careful not to rotate the whole branch, because as you're rotating it, there's always that possibility of the branch rotating with it. Sometimes you can do that, but for this one I've got to kind of think ahead now, because I need this branch to rotate this way. Now if the wire's on and I rotate it that way, it's going to loosen the wire, so I need to make sure now that I do it right, if you know what I mean, if that makes any kind of sense. So I've got my first loop there, so the next part is to hold it by that loop, and I'm using my other finger here behind to kind of support as much as I can, so I'm not putting too much pressure on any of the branches. I'm using everything I can to clamp everything down, so the only thing I'm going to be moving is just this wire, you see. So that's kind of the objective. You want everything else to stay still, and the only thing that should move is the wire. I hope that helps, but it's easier said than done. It's obviously the bigger the tree, the easier it's going to be. So here, like I said, I need to rotate this now. So I'm going to bend it behind it here, and I'm going to slightly overcompensate a little by rotating the branch here, supporting it here but still holding it here, and I'm going to use this thumb just to guide it around. Just going to get in between that a little bit there as well. And again, I'm rotating it here, and I can feel the wire there, so I'm just using my other finger just to push it downwards like that. So as you can see now, it's kind of at the angle that I needed it. So I'm going to leave that one there for now, and then I'm going to work on the opposite one. Got to make sure I'm got my angles and everything right here. Yeah, so it still needs to be rotated a bit, so what I'm going to do is come underneath this other branch here, and as I've done that I can now rotate that a little bit, and then that gives me a bit of leverage. Well, I've just seen a midge in here, I'll have to kill it. I don't like killing anything but midges. Sorry, midgie. Okay, so alright. So it's getting there, slowly. It's definitely something you don't want to rush, and when it comes to wiring, you've got to be so careful. You've got to always think ahead and not rush it, and not do it too tight either. It just needs to be snug, I suppose is the word. Not too tight that it strangles it, but just enough to bend it. So this one again, I've got to slightly rotate it to the left, like sort of this way, that way. So when I do that, that one actually is easier because it's actually going in the same direction as the wire is. So I don't have to stress about that too much. All I have to concentrate on here is weaving in and out of the little fine foliage here. So I'm going to go up a little here, a little gap there, and then just try and shuffle things around a little so I can see what's going on. There we go. See there, and then sneaky. And the next part is coming the other side here and just working our way to the end. I mean, this is just like the very kind of early stage, I suppose, of the styling process. Getting the wire on, I think, is probably the hardest part. I think the drawing aspect always helps, you know, rather than just winging it, if you like, or just being spontaneous. I mean, sometimes you know, you can do that. You know, there's no problem in doing that. But sometimes, you know, it does pay to basically just analyze everything and to kind of like make little weird drawings and see what your options are. Right, so trying to find a gap now for the last little turn here. And of course I'll do an update video if, well, I'm not saying if, I'm saying when it flowers, which will hopefully be in the beautiful summer. I'm kind of looking forward to summer. So yeah, as you can see now, look, the branch is kind of facing towards us. The foliage is like the pad part here is facing towards us, where we want it kind of facing this way. So all I have to do now is kind of support it here, and in the direction of the wire now I can just hold it and support it on both sides and just gently rotate it. Like so, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, gotta keep looking as well, that I don't lose track of where I am and rotate something that I shouldn't rotate, or move something that I shouldn't move. So that one's okay now. We've got the right kind of position for that, like rotation wise. So this one I'm just going to gently move in line, and we've got some pretty heavy foliage compared to that one. It's quite flat, so we want this one to be nice and flat like this one here. So this is like the kind of the next part of the I suppose the styling process. I mean, this is kind of like how I do it anyway. I mean, everybody has their own ways, but this one here is kind of growing downwards. So I'm going to completely cut that one off there. That's better. I've got another one there as well, which could probably do with trimming. Okay. just going to put these in some sort of rough position now where the rotation angle's right and the position's roughly about right where I want them. And then the same with this branch here. Again, always supporting. You've got to remember that we've anchored this branch to this branch, so if you move this branch, this branch is going to move. So you've got to support it because you don't want it moving, because otherwise you're going to be constantly fighting it. And eventually, if you keep moving something, if you keep wiggling something, what happens? It breaks. It just gives in. So I'm going to try and support it there while keeping everything else in check. So I'm looking at the rotation as well as the kind of angle of this one. So I'm not doing any bends or anything here, it's just mainly positioning. So it's kind of like this so far. So we will have the apex here, and then we will have these guys sort of like maybe a little bit higher up, and then this one, and then this one. So I'm going to try and move these guys up a little. And by doing that, it allows me to move this one up a little, so we get a nice separation between kind of each branch as well. So again, I haven't addressed much about bends and curves and so much, so it's mainly just positioning so far. Right, oh dear, I've got a bit of dirt up my nose, which is great. Just going to have a quick drink. Okay. So now we've got kind of the basic frame, I suppose, you could call it, of the design, I suppose. The next part would be actually adding the movement. So again, this is going to be the pot. I'm going to put it at a slight angle anyway. You can't really see it now, excuse me. Let me just move that a bit. So I'm going to put it at a slight angle anyway. With this pot, I probably would pot it so that the base of the trunk is more central, because we need it so that this branch here completely clears the edge here. So it's going to be about roughly probably about there maybe, and then I can manipulate this branch. So I'll probably leave this branch until it's actually repotted, and try and figure out everything else maybe. It depends how severe we go, you know. So obviously I'm still kind of like analysing it. I've like made no plans apart from that little squiggle there. I mean, even this little branch here, I don't even know if I'll keep it, but I might do, because see what happens and just have it at a slight angle like that, because it adds a bit more dimension this way, you know, when you rotate the whole tree around. Just a weird little feature, you know. So yeah, the hardest part I think now is going to be having the curve here, because it's a very short area, and it's quite thick here as well, and that's going to be the hardest part, I think, is trying to create some sort of curve here so that this does literally become the apex, like so, like that. It will be trimmed down as well, obviously, so there's all that to do, and then tidying up. Just gonna finish wiring that one, because I didn't finish that one. It's definitely extremely fiddly, this. I know I said it was a challenge, but well, I suppose the clue's in the name, isn't it? I mean, I like a good challenge. I don't know about anybody else. I hope you do. I hope that's going to be alright there. Kind of just flipped on me then for a second. Just going to lift that bit up there and just tuck it under that one there. I always find, having a few deep breaths always helps as well. It's not that I'm getting impatient or anything, it's just I kind of another thing I used to do a while back was archery. And if you're a shooter, for example, if you use a rifle or a pistol, in the UK we're not allowed to obviously firearms, which sucks. But I used to do archery, and it's very similar in some respects to shooting. You know, you sort of like you take a nice deep breath, and you sort of, or a comfortable breath, and then you hold your breath while you're aiming to stop any kind of movement of the of the weapon, if you like. So I do that with things like this as well. I end up holding my breath because I don't want the slightest little movement to cause a weird spasm or something and end up causing damage or something. So I end up holding my breath like I just did there. So yeah. Photography, I do that in photography as well. When I'm taking a shot, I always hold my breath because it stabilises the camera. So weird little things you learn, eh? Yeah, I mean, I could probably, I mean, it would be ideal if, when they're longer, I suppose I could add some more, like, kind of twisty into these branches, but I think at the moment they're a bit too short. But I mean, for such a little thing anyway, I don't even know why I'm thinking that far ahead. Oh dear. Excuse me. Alright then, so, just, where are we at now? Yeah, so that's going to be the hardest part, I think, is putting that curve in to get that, because it's literally, that wire is just not holding it. So I'm not sure how I'm going to achieve that. I'm probably going to have to use even thicker wire, which I don't really want to do, you know. But if it needs to be done, it needs to be done. So as I move in this branch here and like trying to find some sort of position, I also need to add a bit of movement by kind of creating like forward, left, right bends, while making sure that the branch itself doesn't rotate, because we still want to keep everything nice and flat. There's still some growth that needs to be sorted, but I'm going to address that afterwards. I think for now I'm just going to try and concentrate on just adding some kind of movement to it. And also, yeah, some of them are going to need a lot of trimming back. Alright, so This thing keeps moving, it's so annoying. Right. And with these two here, I could probably slightly separate them, not just this way here, but also up and down ways as well. So have one slightly above the other, but still keeping that, you know, so it's not just all in one line. Keep giving it a bit of kind of you know, dimension to it. Yeah, probably even separate them a little bit more than that. Let's try again. I'm going to hold this one at the base and add a bit of sideways movement and sideways movement back again, so it's kind of a bit like creating like a bit of windsweptiness to it, but I'm just going to twist that other bit there because that keeps coming undone there. Definitely a case of the smaller the material, the harder it is, definitely. Everything's magnified, even the mistakes, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I think it'll look a lot better once the kind of foliage has been trimmed, if you know what I mean. I'm going to use this to try and fill in that little gap there as well. So we're kind of adding a bit of movement to each branch by sort of like bending them yeah, in all manner of directions, not just up and down and wavy like. So if we keep this little deadwood feature, I'm not sure if it'll turn deadwoody. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever worked with a heather, but if it does, then I'm going to use that as a means for rotating this branch that way, so we kind of get a bit more broader here. And then move that inwards like that, and then back out, so it's like snaking, you know. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'll pause the camera again, and I'm going to evaluate now the kind of length of the foliage pads, if you like. I know in bonsai the kind of general rule of thumb is to kind of create a kind of pyramid effect to some degree. So whether it's like here or just here, you know, so I'm going to just have a look anyway and finish my coffee as well. God, it's going to be a long video. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm reducing the amount of foliage that is either going in an upward direction or a downward direction. Okay, so I've added some thicker wire onto this, as well as the wire that was already on it, so it kind of reinforces the effect, I suppose, and that's actually worked a treat. What I was able to do was I was able to bend it a little, which gave me a nice curve, as you can see here. So it's like from here, nice curvature here. I actually used this aluminium chopstick here to add a little bit of leverage just by placing it underneath, like so, and just adding pressure just with a thumb here, just to kind of get a nice kind of curviness. So the next stage I think is just basically to pot it up, I think, to be honest. Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to pot it up now, and then we can basically just move and adjust things a little, like this. I'm not too happy about this one at the moment, but it's all wired, and the next part will be the easy part after that's been potted. So this is going to be the hardest part, and that's getting rid of all this this soil. So I've got some some toothpicks here. So what I'm going to do is, not using those scissors, I'm just going to use some snippers, and on the one side of them I'm just literally going to blunt the tips like so on one end. So I can use either the pointy end, or if that's a bit too savage, then I can just flip it around and use the blunt end. Okay, so I'll try the pointy end first. I'm just going to start underneath, just gently poking it. I did a bit of this off camera. I thought, what the hell's that? And I'll show you. Like, this massive piece of wood was in there, like that. It's great, isn't it? Okay, so after a lot of time and stuff, I was managed to bare root the get rid of all that nasty soil from these roots. It was actually easier to put it into a bowl of lukewarm water, and to gently sort of massage the actual root ball, which freed up a lot of the roots, as you can see. So they're quite compact, so obviously I don't want to be doing too much to these, to be honest. I think what I might do is, when I pot it, I want to try and keep them quite flat like this, and train them to go sort of like flattish rather than just downwards. What I'm going to do now is obviously repot it, but I'm going to use mostly this kind of composty stuff that I've kind of created for it, which is just basically very fine sand with some very fine gravel in it, little stones, and that'll aid with like drainage and whatnot. But I'm going to add a very small percentage of the original soil from the skank pot. From the skank pot. So I'm talking like, probably about that much. Just to give it a bit of nutrients, like, maybe a little bit more. It's obviously there's more volume of this than there is to go in the pot, sort of thing. So because the other thing with sand and obviously the pebbles is that that it doesn't hold much in the way of nutrients. So the soil will add a little bit of nutrient value to it without it clogging up and causing the root rot later on down its little life. And you've got to remember, I am in the UK, and the UK is literally like 80% rain, 10% sort of sleet, and snow and harsh winds and very little sun. We kind of get like a couple of weeks of sun in the summer where it's just like excruciating. So something like that anyway. So it's got a bit of everything in there. The sand will keep it acidic, which is what it likes. The gravel will keep it nice and aerated and draining, and the little bit of compost that it was used to will give it a bit of nutrients. And when it comes to feeding during the summer, because I will give it a little bit of fertiliser. I mean, it'd be rude not to, wouldn't it? So at least it'll have that compost in there to kind of hold it in. So make sure we don't put any little roots in there and stuff as well. I'm not compressing it down too far either, because with sand, if you compress it too much, the roots won't be able to progress. Won't be able to get through it, especially those roots, because they're just too fine. Just gonna carefully tuck these roots in. I'll use my little toothpick again. So I'm just gonna carefully tuck these little dudes back in there. And hopefully the next time it comes to repotting this, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier. And with all the rain and stuff over the next couple of years, it might help free up some of this skank that's still in the roots. Oh dear, I need to stop saying that, don't I? So yeah, never mind. So yeah, now I'm gonna just gently just push them downwards, so that this will then train them to grow downwards over that kind of that rock, that little pebble. So all those longer ones, pushing them down. Don't want them growing up. So I'm using the flat end of the toothpick, not the pointy end. Okay. So again, that's what we got so far. I can adjust the angle as well slightly, so I'm going to try and pot it at a slighter, steeper angle so that it looks like the bend is more bendy. Let's tuck those roots back in there again. So now I'm just going to use the same soil that I started with. I just put a thin layer on the top there and just gently poke it in there, getting those roots. Get down the side there as well. Hi everyone, so the video stopped abruptly because my battery went, but you didn't really miss anything. I'm just going to zoom in now so you can see the finished item, but all I did was just pack in some of the soil mix that I prepared for it with a little toothpick, and that's pretty much all I've done really. And that's my kind of little challenge over for this one. So this was my first ever cascade. It was a challenge, so I hope that you that you find this useful, and I hope that you have a go at this challenge as well. So so the only guidelines basically are that the heather needs to be a flowering heather during the summer, and the style is completely up to you. On a final note, what I'll add is that, like in most bonsais, the smaller the bonsai, the more often it's going to need watering. So depending on how deep your pot is, for example, this one's, compared to the other ones, is quite deep. So I won't have to water it as often as, say, something like this one here. I hope you can see it well in this light, but that's the other one there. So there we go. I think that's pretty much it. Voila. If you actually choose the right type of heathers, you could actually do 3 or 4 different types of these heathers as well, and you'll have all year round colour. Obviously this one, we're in March right now, and this one flowered probably kind of maybe September and kind of wintry time, so it's about to kind of drop these little flowers, where this one will actually start shooting them probably late spring. So I hope that helps. Take care. See you later.